Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're going to talk about the improvements that we've made to the PT2 over the PT1. Now the PT1 was a great set of pedals, but there are a lot of improvements that we wanted to make, and rather than make them to the PT1, we also wanted to make a brand new set of pedals. So we've decided to go ahead and make the PT2. Now, again, there are some things we wanted to improve. So I've got some things in front of me here, and I want to talk to you about each one of them and how they are improvements over the PT1. So as you notice in the background here, I've got the mounting plate tipped over so that I can show you the bottom, and I've got some things here that I want to go over. So the first thing I want to show you is the mounting hardware for the mounting plate. So in order to mount the pedals to the mounting plate, we would normally give you a bolt that looks like this. Now, what you would have to do is you'd have to put a washer on first, then put a star washer on, and then you would have to feed it through the bottom of the mounting plate into the pedal itself. Then you'd have to put another washer on top of that, and then a nut on top of that to keep it bolted down. Now, in order to bolt it down, the problem is you'd have to hold the bolt on the bottom with an Allen wrench, and then you'd have to take a wrench on the top to bolt to put the nut on tight, and that was very tedious, very difficult to do. So we wanted to eliminate that part of it and do something a little bit different. So we've gone to something like this. Now this is what they call an aluminum extrusion T-slot. I guess you would call this a nut or just a fitting. I'm not sure what they call this, but this makes it much easier to mount the pedals to the mounting plate. So what you would do is this little bracket here will fit into the slot on the bottom of the mounting plate, and then you just feed the bolt through the top, go through the pedal into the bottom, and then you just screw this down, and this fitting into the slot. And you can see it's got a couple of flat sides, and this, when it fits into the slot, it won't rotate. So all you have to do is tighten the bolt from the top, it tightens itself down, and you're done. That's basically it. Okay, so the second improvement I want to talk about is with the bump stop. Now, there's no bump stop attached to the threaded rod here, but just pretend that there is. So normally what you would have to do is you would have to thread this on, or it would already be threaded on, but this threaded rod would be threaded into this hex spacer, and when you wanted to adjust the bump stop, you would have to loosen this nut, then you would have to thread this in or out, so it would go in and out like that, and then you would have to tighten this nut back down in order to keep it tight. So the problem was that it was in between the two side plates, and it was very difficult to fit a normal size wrench in there, and it was just really hard to adjust. So we're getting rid of that system, and we're going with a bolt fitting at the top, as you can see. So what this does is, and I can even do this by hand, I can tighten it down just by hand, and it doesn't, I can't push it in or out. It's a very good system, much easier to adjust. So what you do, you just loosen this bolt and you move this bump stop. Let's see, loosen this a little more. You move the bump stop in or out just like that. You can even make very fine adjustments, and you could just bolt it down either by hand. See, even by hand, it's very tight in there. But what you'd want to do is take an Allen wrench and tighten this down, and you're finished. Much easier to make adjustments. Okay, so the next part I want to show you really isn't a part of an adjustment really, but it's something new that we are making for the clutch mechanism. Now this is a 3D printed part, and this allows the threaded rod, sort of like this, to go in this way and in through this way. So what we do is we take these little metal sleeves and we insert them into this part here and here, and that allows the threaded rod to go through without really damaging this piece of plastic. So let me turn the pedals over and I'll show you exactly how we're using this little part. Okay, so I got the pedals turned over here, and as you can see, this is basically the part right here. Now, I'm not going to go through the adjustments part of it because I'm going to save that for the adjustments videos, but I just wanted to show you what this part actually does. So, as you can see, the threaded rod goes through here at the top, and the other threaded rod goes through the bottom out like this. So in order to make the adjustment, I really don't want to get into this very much detail, but anyway, in order to make the adjustment, all you have to do is loosen these two nuts, then slide this in or out on the shaft, and then tighten the nuts back down again. Much easier to make adjustments than the last version of pedals, which had two extra plates attached to the side plates here, and you had to loosen the 4 bolts, then move it in or out, and it was kind of a pain to do. So we wanted to make it much easier. Okay, so the next improvement I want to talk about is with the tension adjustment for each pedal. Now, as you can see on the pedal arms, instead of having multiple holes where you had to take the bolt out and then keep the spacers in there and then put the bolt back in and tighten it back up, that's really not very ideal. So what we've done is we've added a complete slot just like this, and it's curved so that it follows the angle of the shaft attached to the back of the pedal. So all you have to do is loosen this nut, move this up or down, and you've got your tension adjustment. Now you do have to remember that you need to loosen the 2 bolts in the back because the block back here needs to be perpendicular to the shaft. So you just loosen the 2 nuts in the back, loosen it up here, move it up or down wherever you want it, tighten everything back up, and you're good to go. Now the same thing also applies to the clutch pedal. It also applies to the brake pedal. Now you can also see we've added a slot in the back, and that's for the pedal angle adjustment. Now again, I'm not going to go over the adjustments in detail here, but I just wanted to show you that we've added a slot in the back so that you can make easier pedal angle adjustments. Alright, so the final improvement I want to talk about is with the brake pedal. So on the PT1, the brake pedal had a lever system. Now the lever was in the rear, and it had a pivot point right around back here, which when you pressed on the brake, the bushings would push against this block and the lever would pull up on the load cell. Now we've eliminated that system completely, and we've just attached the block in the back directly to the load cell. So what you're doing is you're basically pushing directly onto the load cell. Alright guys, as far as improvements are concerned, I think that about covers it. Make sure you stay tuned for the adjustments videos. We will be going over all the adjustments for each pedal in detail. Alright guys, we will see you next time.